Previously on Break the Cycles. We landed in Turbo after our sailing adventure, and the boys and I decided to split up and go our own way. For now. As I explore the beautiful cities of northern Colombia, I met up with Windham once again in Santa Marta, preparing to visit Cabo de la Vela together. Cabo de la Vela is one of the northern points in Colombia where the desert and the Caribbean Sea joins together. It is a very well-known eco-tourist destination that we are not going to miss. So Wyndham and I left Santa Marta pretty early in the morning, knowing that it will be a pretty long ride. After we turn off the main highway, the road to Cabo is a straight line of dirt and gravel road, not unlike the Dalton Highway in Alaska. And you can see I'm like cruising at like 50 miles an hour, and I obviously didn't learn my lesson after the crash. But to my credit, this is a straight line and there's no turns and it's pretty flat and there's no grade. So it's a little better, but not by much. So after like a long stretch of gravel road, we were like 20 miles away from our destination. And then unfortunately the road changed to deep sand. We're now riding in like super deep sand at 14, 15 miles an hour, super, super, super slow and sketchy. As we continued slowly on the sandy track, we kept passing random little kids along the road. I have no idea where these kids are coming from. Like, we're in the middle of the desert. There is literally nothing around for as far as my eyes can see. Like, it's sand here, sand there. I have no idea where these kids are coming from. They're like random kids just appearing magically along the route. And I keep looking around to see if there's like some adult anywhere nearby. Nothing. Very creepy. So after about an hour of riding in the sand, me and Wyndham stopped to check our progress to, where our destination in Cabo. And I know we were like probably 10 miles away or less, but I had to bring my GPS out to confirm how far we were left. And yeah, 5 miles. One more hour to go. Fuck my life. Because we were riding for like 8 hours already. Absolutely brutal. Super slow going. In the hot summer in the desert. It was brutal. And we finally made it to Cabo. And this was an empty husk of town. Like, it was only 5 p.m., but nothing was open. Everything was closed. All the restaurant, all the shops. There's nowhere to buy food. There's not even any place to buy groceries. Everything was closed. So we were originally just gonna go find a campsite and eat whatever we had that we had on our bike, but like the scenery was so spectacular and the sun was coming down. We were like golden hour photos. So we rode up on some hill and took some photos. I sent the drone up. And then afterwards, we eventually found a campsite nearby, and then we took some more photos. And it's the setting sun in the Caribbean Sea, and you have like sailboats in the background, desert behind you, and it was breathtaking. And to top it off, because there's like a nice cool breeze when the sun set, the campsite was fantastic. Like it felt great even without any air conditioning. So the next day, me and Wyndham rode out together out of Cabo and towards Valledupar. We split up and took different hosts when we got to Valledupar. Now, my host was Stella and her family. Now, Valledupar is kind of like considered a small town in the mountains. So it's kind of rural. I mean, it's a city, but I wouldn't say it's a town. I would say it's a city, but it's a pretty darn small city in the mountains. Now, there are a lot of basic amenities, especially in the town center, but the houses range from modern amenities to houses without walls. So, Sdeling's house is the latter. To say that the house was half finished was very generous. There was room without walls. Most rooms have no walls. There was no windows. There's just a cutout, but there's no windows in there. And half the wall in the kitchen is unfinished. Like, if it rains, like, all the rains are, like, just, like, splattering in, like, hitting the fridge, everything. And the walls are concrete, the floors are concrete, nothing is finished. It's like half done construction site. Running water, 50% of the time, depending if it rains. And ironically, if it rained, there will be no water because they use natural spring water from the mountains. So when it rains, all the sediment gets washed down from the mountains, and they have to stop the water to wait till it clears up before they release it. But otherwise, I will say this: the natural spring water, oh, it tastes so good. It is so good. I was very tempted to leave though because it kind of reminded me of the other Colombian accommodation I have. But at least I had my own bed and I had my own room, and Stella and her family were very, very nice and accommodating. So I thought I would stick around and experience the local life for a few days. And Stanley knew all the best spots in Valledupar. And we're not talking about like the touristy spot where people drive through and that's where all they all go. There's like a river in town, super crowded, everybody's there. But she knows all the not so well known places. Like only the locals would know. So the first day she took me to La Mina, just north of the city, and this was like a swimming hole just on the base of the mountain. I would describe this as one of the most beautiful oases I have ever seen. I mean, the area was not crowded. The water is crystal clear. And it's very chilly water, but for a hot summer day, this could not get any better. The backdrop to the mountain is surreal, and you can see in the photo. I mean, this looked like it could be featured in like some nature magazine cover. Like, it was so pretty. We took the dip in the water in the swimming hole. There was a bunch of other local kids there, but it wasn't like a lot of people. It was like maybe like three or four other local kids. And then we made our way back to her parents' place. The next day, Sdeling took me to Cascada de Mariposas, says Avida. This is like, I don't know, public, private waterfall? I still don't know. This is kind of difficult to get to, much more than La Mina. It's like very deep in the woods, up in the mountains, and it's kind of where like the native villages are. And to get to the waterfall, you go through the main road, you get to the country road, and then you go up the mountain. And then you randomly stop at like this gate, somebody's ranch, right? And there's no address, no door number, nothing. It's just like some random place. And Stalin got out of the bike and like went somewhere and like found somebody, talked to them, and then came back. And the person's like, "Oh yeah, you can park your motorcycle in my backyard." So they agree. She opens the gate. It's not even the person opens the gate. She opens the gate. And then I push and ride my bike into this gated open field, literally just in the middle of the field. I just parked my bike there. Then I walked with her through their backyard, literally through their backyard, and you see their house in one side, and then they're doing stuff, and then you walk in the back of their house, and then you find a pathway, like a footpath, after you like pass into the woods, and then you follow this trail all the way to this waterfall, and this was like a gem, absolutely ridiculous. There were multiple colored butterflies everywhere. The place was squeaky clean. It was private. It was secluded. And there was literally nobody there for 2 hours that we were just hanging out there. There's not a single person that showed up. It was serene, and it was a little way too picturesque to be even like, it felt very surreal. Right. And then the following day, I took a break and worked on my trip data and took more drone shots of the village. And on a whim, because I felt like Sdeling understood how to travel and find wonderful places, so I asked her if she would like to travel south with me on my bike. She enthusiastically agreed and said yes in the moment. And then later on in the day, she like pretended like it never happened. Like the whole conversation never happened. I was like, whatever. All right, so the next day after breakfast, I say goodbye to her and her family and headed south to Giron. Well, I was headed towards Bucaramanga, but my host was in Giron. The road to Giron and /Bucaramanga was very, very slow going. At first, there's some livestock in the middle of the road, which is now pretty standard because all the other countries I've been through, there was livestock in the road. And that is not really what made it really slow. What made it really slow is that once I got to cross over the mountain, because all these are mountain roads going up and down the mountain. And because this is a main road going south, there's like all these 18 wheelers that are going this direction too. So all the 18 wheeler delivery trucks, they all take this road. And because the mountain pass is steep and the big trucks are like super heavy, this means like super, super slow speed. Right. So I'm falling behind on the motorbike, and this is absolute torture because it's literally a like two lane road, and there's no space for anything. So after like being frustrated for over an hour riding behind them, I was just like, "Oh, I can't do this. I like lost my cool and lost my patience, and I started like, I'm gonna pass them. I'm gonna pass them because it's taking too long. I can't put up with this. So I started passing them. I already know it's a bad idea, but I did it anyways. So I started passing the trucks and the cars, and then on one of these turns, holy crap, I come across, it's a blind right hand turn, and then another car and another truck comes, and you can see how close I was to dying. Like, this was a really, really bad decision. And after making it out alive, like, definitely a brown moment, I rode nice and slow until I got to Giron. Now, Giron is the town just past Bucaramanga. Bucaramanga is like a huge, like, Colombian town, but Giron is like a small town just outside of it. And Stella and her mom took me in as a couch surfer. They were super nice, and I'm happy to say the accommodation was pretty darn good. Like Colombian standard wise, it was pretty darn good. Clean AC, clean bed, all walls, windows. Like it was pretty good. Right. I even got to park my bike inside because they ran a clothing shop, like a custom clothing shop, and I was able to park my bike inside. Fantastic. The next day, Windham actually came to town and joined me at Stella's place. So apparently, Stella like hosts like a ton of couch surfers, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this guy's coming down." I was like, "I know him. Come on, tell him to come." So Windham, of course, joined me, and then we all went to Bucaramanga on the bikes with Stella and had dinner in the city. And there are these massive underground parking garages for motorbikes in Bucaramanga. It's like 5 stories deep. Like it's down underground, and you ride down, and it's like super narrow. But there's like multi stories, and it's like a little like mini roller coaster inside. And then like there's so many motorbikes everywhere. It was a little bit too small for my DR650, but it fit. But wow, this was a very interesting experience. I've never seen anything like it. On the way back after dinner, we got to see the sunset overlooking Giron. The mountain terrain in Colombia make for pretty amazing vantage point in so many different places. The next day, I decided that I was having such a good time with Stella and Windham showing up again, and Stella's mom. And they were super accommodating. I was like, I'm going to cook you my favorite lamb noodle soup for everybody. So Stella took me to Bucaramanga to go to the bigger shopping place to buy some of the ingredients I need. I had to modify some of these ingredients since they really didn't have any Asian markets here, but I made it work. The reviews were very good, and my host was very happy and very pleasantly surprised. The following day, I said goodbye to Stella and her mom in Windham, and I headed to Medellin. It was a very long and boring ride on the highway all the way to Medellin. I ended up staying with Andre in the center of town. Medellin reminded me of like San Francisco, but on steroids. The roads are super tiny. The houses are on these epic hills. Like everything is like a roller coaster up and down. Trying to get my bike onto the hostess patio was an absolute mission. Like it was very sketchy, and we had to lift the bike up. And typically they lift their own bike up, but they have these 125cc they just chuck. But with the DR, even though it's only a 300, 400 pound bike, I mean, it's not something you can just lift up easily and chuck. Anyways, there wasn't much to do the first night. I didn't make it down to downtown. It was kind of drizzling at that day, and they had some performance going on in the street. So that was pretty cool. The following day, I serviced my bike in the morning. Andre had to go to work, but then he got one of his friends to come by and show me around town. He took me to a nice restaurant, some local place for some pork grinds. It was fantastic. It was pretty good. It wasn't like that memorable of food, not like the lamb taco in Sonata, but like it was decent. And then at night we met up with Andre to attend a cannabis convention, and the guys were super hype about this cannabis stuff, and I was like, meh. But it was pretty cool. So in between all this, Sdeling actually messaged me on WhatsApp, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I had cold feet. Why didn't you say anything?" I'm like, "I mean, you didn't say anything. Why am I gonna say anything?" Anyways, she said if I was willing to go back and pick her up, she would come along. I thought, why not? Time for a change. Time for a change of pace, change of adventure. So I messaged Stella and told her I'm coming back your way. Next time, I return to Giron and then Valledupar.